I'm Jonathan Butter, and welcome back to yet another 2022 Chancellorial debate. Now, this time, there's a fifth Chancellorial candidate that has entered into running for Chancellor. Now, I thought that with Caden Lewis, he was going to be the last person I would interview for a Chancellorial election. But alas, I was dead wrong. Now, I'm going to keep it traditional like I've kept it in the other ones, or at least try to anyway, yeah? By keeping it as short as possible, depending on what this candidate has got to say in regards to the questions that I'm asking him. So with that being said, please welcome Paul Scaletta, who is running for the Chancellor of Dashland in the 2022 Chancellorial Dashing elections. Paul Scaletta.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, first off, I'd like to say my name's Paul Scaletta, but a lot of people call me Pauly for short. I like Pauly, but yeah, I'm not really too concerned about it. So, yeah, I'm running for Chancellor over here because, well, we'll get into that here. What's the questions?
All right. Now let's not get too ahead of yourself, innit?
Yeah, well, I understand. Sorry about that.
All right. Now I'm going to ask you a series of questions, just 3 short questions regarding what you would like to do if elected as Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Dashland. First question. Since you are running for Chancellor, what makes you a better choice over the other 4 candidates?
Well, let me see. Well, for one, we'll start with Alejandro Valentino. Now, don't get me wrong, Valentino and I are close friends. We've been close friends for years. I was one of the first citizens, one of the first individuals to sign up to become a citizen of Dashland back when it was a corporatocracy that was, under under the leadership of the corporation, his corporation, known as Definitive Community Enterprises, LLC. But, that being aside, even though Valentino and I are close friends, we maintain a close relationships. One thing I have an issue with. Now, I do agree with a lot of the policies. In fact, I agree with all the policies that Valentino wants to, introduce and enact and put into fruition, or whatever the word is, put into effect. But there's one thing that's really bothering me over here, is the fact that Valentino takes too long to get these bills passed into law. We need fast action. This country doesn't need to be waiting for somebody to sign off on a law. If Parliament votes on a law or a bill, that the people propose, or that anybody proposes, and it goes up to Parliament, if Parliament votes in favor of it, then it goes up to the Chancellor. Now, the Chancellor's job is to sign off on it so that bill can be turned into a law. Now, what the hell's taking so long? I mean, look, I understand Valentino's got, he runs 2 businesses, 2 of them being, well, one business, he's just working on an up-and-coming business, and then he's working a full-time job. I understand that. I'm not saying that, not to work, because after all, that's what Dashland, one of the foundations Dashland was built upon is working. I'm all for working people, I have a job too outside of Dashland, but I still find time to make time for Dashland.
All right. So that's what you would do differently. Okay, what about the other 3 candidates? Jax Ryland, Juan de la Cruz, and Caden Lewis. What would you do differently from them?
Well, first off, Caden Lewis is a nut job. I don't even understand why. I don't think anybody in their right mind would vote for him. I mean, this guy wants to ban guns and all that stuff, and wants to regulate, he wants to regulate guns, and then he wants to ban, fully automatic rifles. trying to pull a Biden over here, or trying to pull, what's that guy's name in the United States over there? Beto O'Rourke, that dumbass over here. He's trying to be another Beto slash Biden. We don't need this in Dashland. If like Valentino said, if you want to be like Biden, if you're so focused on Biden and you want to emulate him and pass all his stupid policies, he can go over to the United States and just leave the government and not even run for chancellor over here. Now, as far as Ryland and De La Cruz go, Ryland, I agree with Valentino when it comes to Ryland. Dashland is not necessarily ready for immediate independence. Now, I'm not saying I'm totally against it, but we got to take some time over here. We can't just be rushing into that. Independence is a serious, serious thing. It's something that needs to be thought out and planned out before implemented. You understand what I'm saying? Definitely do. Now, for Juan de la Cruz, I really don't have anything bad to say about the guy. But I don't know exactly what I would do differently from him, because he too agrees with a lot of the things that Valentino's doing. But it's just, are we gonna sit here and what if De La Cruz is like Valentino and he takes his sweet time? I'm not saying that he takes his sweet time, but what if he doesn't have time? You understand what I'm saying?
All right. Lastly, what are your plans for Dashland if you get elected?
Well,
before that, the second question. Do you feel confident that you will win the election?
Yeah, of course I do. There's no doubt about that. Most definitely.
And now lastly, what are your plans for Dashland if you get elected, Mr. Scaletta?
Well, that's a good question. My plans for Dashland is really, really simple. Continue the policies that Valentino has enacted. But when it comes to signing a bill into a law, do it within a timely manner instead of waiting and making everybody else and making others wait for like 1 to 2 to 3 months. That's not the way to do things. That's not how this country or any other country is ran. There's a timely manner to things. When it comes to certain things, certain laws and whatnot, they got this thing called a statute of limitations. You ever heard of that?
Yes, fam, I'm pretty sure and well aware of what a statute of limitation is. I'm well aware of that and I know what it is.
Well, I'm glad you understand. So, say for example, if these bills that Valentino has to sign off on has statutes of limitations on them, this guy, Chancellor Valentino, doesn't sign off on them within a specific period of time over here. So, if the bill goes past the statute of limitations, that means that, well, it's null and void. There's no way. Essentially, it's thrown out over there. So,
but let me cut you off. Let me stop you right there for a minute. But there are no statutes of limitations on bills and laws being passed or bills being passed into law in Dashland.
Well, you're right. You're right about that. There's no statute of limitations, at least not yet. But what if there was?
Well, I understand where you're coming from, mate. If there was statutes of limitations on bills being passed into law or bills that have ascended up the chain from Parliament to the Chancellor's desk, if the Chancellor didn't sign the bill, in a timely manner, then said statute of limitations would kick in, thus rendering the bill obsolete or expired. But we don't have a statute of limitations when it comes to passing bills into laws, if you will. Not in this country. Honestly, I don't even know what other country has that.
Well, I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying a what ifs over here. But nonetheless, that's what I would do. That's my plans for Dashland. I would do that differently than Valentino, which, again, I'm not trying to knock him. He's a great guy, great friend of mine. But, friendship aside, you got to separate your friendship, your personal life from business over here. So, with that being said, to me, running this country is almost like running a business. You got to do things at a certain timely manner, in certain fashion. And you can't be horsing around, taking your time, beating around the bush. I'm the type of guy, I like to just plow right through the bush, metaphorically speaking, of course. In before the butthurt people talk about, oh, he's talking about some other kind of bush. That's not what I'm talking about over here. I'm talking about a metaphorical bush. I'm not talking about a bush growing out of the ground. I'm not talking about a bush, any other kind of bush. I'm talking about a metaphorical bush, like if I was in the car and Valentino was in the car and there's a metaphorical bush, the car's metaphorical too. But if there was a metaphorical bush, ahead of us, Valentino would stop his car and start beating around it. Me, I would just plow right through the bush, metaphorically speaking. But that's what separates me from Valentino. But other than that, everything else that he's doing, I fully agree with it. I approve of it. I just want it done within a timely manner. I'm pretty sure the citizens of Dashland understand and can agree with me as well.
All right. Well, I've got to wrap this up, fam. It's been great interviewing you, Pauly Scaletta. And again, this is the 5th Chancellorial candidate that has recently announced that he's running for Chancellor. With that being said, I'm Jonathan Butter. Good day.